All right. Welcome back to another Elevated Marketing Adapt podcast. My name is Jennifer Denny, and I have a hair that is driving me nuts. And with me today, I have the lovely
Brenna Jackson. Hello, hello.
And, when we first wrote this blog post, we definitely wrote it as omni-channel marketing. And, if you're not in marketing, you might be like, okay, here we go. Another marketing buzzword. What does this mean? And basically, what it means is that there are multiple channels of marketing out there, and they all kind of touch you at different stages of the buying process. And if you're just choosing one channel or the other, you really could be holding your business back.
For sure. Well, and it's also about kind of following and meeting your audience where they are. And most of the time, your audience, they're going to be on different channels and many channels.
You never know where they're at when they're going to make that buying decision. That's for sure. And, there's really no way to say, well, they're at this point, but there are ways to be like, okay, well, they're at this point. This is the most logical step. I think we've talked about that before, like on your website of making sure it's real easy for someone to kind of get to the next logical step. Yeah. So it sounds flashy, but it's accurate and it's an attainable model. It's not just buzzwords. It's definitely being strategic on your marketing. And buyers flip between channels in real time. Like, how many times do people need to see a marketing message before they make a decision?
Anywhere from 7 to 13 times.
Mm-hmm. And I've heard as long as 20. And one channel just can't simply hold that load. I think about when people just want to run Google ads and, if you're just getting started, that's great. But you really need that multiple channels. It's going to be really expensive if that is all you are doing is just working on Google ads or social ads or what have you. They really mirror each other and how decisions are made.
Yeah. And we've also mentioned before, well, we actually had an entire episode about it, about continuous marketing and campaign, like kind of short-term marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that continuous marketing definitely falls in line with this multi-channel marketing because you want to be consistent across the board.
That is an excellent point. That is the continuous. And if you have a sales team, it certainly complements that sales team. It allows them to, give warm leads. They know who you are. There's nothing more that warms my heart when I show up to a networking event and, oh, I've heard of you. And I'm like, great, my marketing's working. I think I've said it before with Lorraine, on a show. It's offline or networking offline is validated by my online marketing. So, you don't walk into a networking event and say, hi, how do you do? This is everything I do, and just throw up. But, afterwards, people might look you up and they want to know who you are. And then they see everything online like, oh, I get it.
Or in the cases where they've already seen your online content. And so then you're able to have a more lengthier conversation maybe and a more impactful conversation about what it is you do because they have seen you before.
Yeah, it's not such a cold conversation. So, well, if you know me, I like metrics. So, brands that use 3+ different channels see a 280% increase in their, conversion, key events, leads, purchase rates, whatever you want to call it. It's a huge increase. So there's definitely some good stats there.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, thinking about the engagement too, which we know we've definitely transitioned into an engagement is king. And there's about 24% higher engagement when using multi-channel marketing.
I love the stat of retaining clients that, you will retain a client better at 89%. And it's just good old communication and people are in different places. And so I think that, that gives that brand trust, that familiarity. And yeah, I mean, let's let's just talk about like some of the different like channels when we say channels, because that might be a marketing term to some people too.
Very true. Yeah. I mean, well, there's definitely search. And when we say search, think about maybe more search engines. Now, this could be related to Google Ads, but it could also be related to SEO. And we also know with SEO, we've kind of transitioned into a new phase and maybe a new term that we'll throw at you is the search everywhere optimization.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot more to hit on that, but really, you're trying to create and produce content that can be searched that will help you pull up in some of these search results. But then on the flip side is the Google Ads, which is paid, and you are paying to show up in these search results.
Yeah, this really builds trust and long-term discoverability. So it's about content. You're talking about, maybe search in LLMs and search in social media and search on, you know, Google and AI overviews and like all the places and local SEO. And yeah, these are people that are actually like high intent. They're seeking out answers. So they are, in that phase of our quote unquote funnel where they have a problem and they're looking for possible solutions. And this is about creating content that is going to meet them where they're at.
Yep, definitely.
Let's,
There's
yeah, go
yeah,
for it.
also social media, of course. And now when we say channels, you might first think about social media. Now, of course, we've got all the platforms. We've got LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, maybe even Pinterest, you name it. YouTube, I think we can maybe put up there as well. This is really where some of that awareness does kind of come into play, but also that engagement is where we seek a lot of that as well. This really, we always say like social media, it's meant to be social. And that is true because it does help with part of that trust building process.
That's where everybody is spending their time. This is the credibility stage. This is the awareness. This is just knowing that you actually exist.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I mean, the next one is paid ads. We said Google search, earlier and threw in the word ads, and we're talking, particularly in the search, but there are definitely performance max and different types of ads. And this is where you can kind of scale your reach and get that fast feedback from, your direct audience that you are kind of targeting. And, even when you target audience, that's really is your content and how well your content matches that particular audience. And so that's important as well. And I know the next one is one of your favorites.
Yes, email marketing. Now, this is definitely, well, it could be honestly more middle to bottom of the funnel here. So, when we're thinking about email, they didn't just magically appear on your list unless you're buying, which we would not necessarily recommend. But they had at some point interacted with you to get on your email list. And so this is where you can really get into more of that personalized messaging. And there's a lot more consistency here when it comes to speaking with this audience because you own this list. And you're able to maybe segment some of those audience behaviors, maybe where they came in from. They came in from a newsletter subscription versus a quiz. You can kind of build different communications based on that. But it definitely bridges some gaps between the first touch point and the last.
Yeah. So two more, and then we'll kind of go back to, the overall multi-channel. So just trying to explain these channels. There's definitely offline channels, and I won't be able to mention them all, but we're talking about events, networking, print, direct mail. billboards, radio, TV, even though radio and TV are definitely getting over into the digital for sure,
Yeah.
formats. But, all of those, I guess I wouldn't necessarily put the TV and the radio in offline channels, but those are definitely other ways in person, definitely has a lasting impression. I think it's going to be more important in the years to come as we start turning so much to talking to a robot and we're not sure if people are real online, that we're really going to value those in-person relationships. So I think you need to keep your eye on that one for sure.
I agree with that. There's also maybe some more online, but also could be offline as well. And these are just maybe webinars, think events or workshops. I
Just
think
right
it's what
this right here,
right
online events.
here. I think some of this could maybe tie into some of that offline as well. But this is where you can really get, a clearer intention, I should say, with your audience and where they kind of are in your buying cycle. Uh,
Mhm.
there's definitely some authority here, and you're just building more of that credibility and trustworthiness as well.
Yeah. So when we talk about like channels, I always want to talk about like cross channel retargeting. Like, maybe you are building an email list by running ads for a particular quiz, and the cycle is going to finish on email marketing. Or maybe you're doing the same thing in social, but a lot of these, I think of that, or I think of ads like where you send one ad and then you're sending a different ad and you're kind of bringing them down the quote unquote funnel, or just being still part of the conversation, like sequence messaging. I think that those, they watched your YouTube videos, and now you're sending them ads. Like, there's lots of ways to kind of make sure that different channels kind of react together.
Yeah, it's kind of just about creating that full circle moment in a sense.
Mhm, mhm. It's the coordination across the channels. You could have an offline event, where you're maybe collecting emails, or you've got a QR code, and then, there's a social promo, and then an email reminder, and then a retargeting ad and follow-up offer. Like, you could go through like a whole sequence there, and, really using your content calendars to make sure that it aligns together.
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, it's important as you're doing all of this, of course, we're data enthusiasts here. So that is important to keep that reporting kind of in line, but also make sure you're paying attention to all of these channels. That's definitely going to help you in the head in the right direction and maybe follow some of the better next steps.
Yeah, and you gotta look at each individual channel for the data that it brings on whether or not it's successful. For years, we would look at our Google Analytics and we would say, whatever showed credit over there, on the end, what was called a conversion and now key event, we'd be like, okay, well, that's what we should give the credit to. And it's all about your overall conversions or key events going up. It's not about looking at the specific channel for that last metric. Each channel has like pretty specific metrics that will tell you that it's actually working and it's driving value to your overall channels working together. And you got to look at that at like 3 months. Okay, the last 3 months I've been doing this, and that now I'm going to be doing this. Like, that's going to let you know that things are working or not working.
Yeah. And especially when we know that everything is playing a part in this and your overall results, it's
Mhm.
a lot of kind of reading between the lines on some things too. When you're looking at, okay, well, how did this channel perform compared to this channel when we're talking about engagement? And
Yes.
so there's definitely a lot of kind of maybe missed messages that could be there. And it definitely takes some experience when I think looking through all of that as well.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely keep in mind your budget constraints, resource planning, like who you have on your team. Of course, there's outside resources that you can definitely, get, but try to make sure that you have at least 3 channels. So one for awareness, one for nurturing, and one for, your conversions or key events. That's kind of the winning combo. But then, we've talked about it before, but one piece of content and repurposing that. I think on the next show we're going to talk about like how to just take one blog post and turn it into like 20 different pieces of content. And I really don't think that we think about that. um, Burnout. Don't burn out your team. Don't try to master like 10 platforms. Like, be really good at 3. You can be in multiple places, but not really like hitting what you need to hit. So I definitely agree with that. So
Yeah.
why don't
Well,
you? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think just to add in there, we always talk about, okay, quality over quantity, and the same goes for here. Don't try to take on more than you really can manage. You still want to produce quality when you're hitting all of these channels.
Okay. So what's the checklist? What do people have to do and walk away with?
Yep. Pull it all into motion. So definitely you want to audit where you are active versus where your leads are actually coming from. Now, we did just kind of run through that in terms of looking at the data, and sometimes credit is not always given. So it's really kind of fine tuning where that reporting is coming from and looking into all the reporting you can. Then again, you had mentioned it, making sure that you're hitting those awareness, conversion, and nurture stages, and which channels will be hitting those stages.
Hmm.
There's definitely mapping your current lead journeys. So maybe look for any gaps. Maybe they make it through to one stage and then they just kind of drop off. So you want to definitely map that out. Then also looking at behavior of your audiences. It's not just by the platform, but you want to make sure that you're, again, meeting them where they are. There's also, I mean, we know consistency is key. And so that follow-up is also part of that consistency, and making sure that that is, followed across all of the channels that you're active on. Think social media, organic social media, email marketing, and ads, making sure that that is all consistent. And then, of course, tracking your ROI. That's, what we care about usually at the end of the day. And so making sure you're paying attention to the metrics that will help you achieve the ROI you have set out to reach. And then what do we do best? Reuse content. So I know that's where we're headed in the next episode for sure. But making sure that you're repurposing and getting all of your content out there.
I think the key is just to be in multiple channels. So with that, we have a newsletter. You can join that by going to our website at elevatormarketing.solutions, or you can follow me, Jennifer Denny, on LinkedIn. We're certainly live on Facebook, LinkedIn, all over YouTube, multiple places. So I definitely think we take that multi-channel approach, and you might see me out in the field. All right, everybody, take care. Bye now.